Hello YouTube! If you've seen my videos before, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, I'm Audrey. I'm a UX designer and researcher. I publish content about everything UX design and research, and sometimes some tutorials as well. And in this video, I wanted to answer a question that I've seen on a lot of forums about people who are considering training in UX and who are hesitating between different paths of training. So between being self-taught, or maybe doing a bootcamp, or maybe doing a full degree in university like a human-computer interaction or a UX design degree. So I'll just give a quick rundown of the pros and cons that I've noticed of people who have different kinds of training. And obviously I'm kind of biased. I am a self-taught person, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I think it's the best way necessarily. Starting with the self-taught options, I think there are definitely some advantages to that. One of them being that it's obviously very cheap. There's a lot of training opportunities on YouTube, on Skillshare, on platforms like Udemy, and they're very accessible in terms of price. Another thing that's interesting with that is that it can be self-paced, for better or for worse. You can take as little or as much time as you need or want to do the training. So that means that if you currently have another job, then you can definitely do that on the side at your own pace. So that can be an interesting perks to it as well. In terms of disadvantages, I think it kind of depends of your background. I've noticed that sometimes people who are self-taught, who don't necessarily have a degree prior to starting in UX, like for example in architecture, in finance, in psychology like me, may struggle a little bit more to get their first work experiences and may have to do more non-profit or free projects or even passion projects to kind of get started. I think it maybe has to do with the kind of credibility that sometimes may come with a degree, unfortunately. And so I've noticed that for some people, without having the full UX degree, if they don't have a prior degree, that may be a bit more of a hurdle to try to get that first job. Another disadvantages or challenge of being self-taught, maybe if you are struggling with things that are self-paced, sometimes that can drag for a very long time, which can be fine, but if you're looking to get started in UX as quickly as possible, that may be kind of a challenge to stay motivated without the feedback that you're not receiving from your peers or teachers, or even the deadlines that are imposed by, exterior pressures usually. Another thing that I had to find new ways to kind of create these things. Another thing is that when you're self-taught, you don't necessarily have as easily the opportunity of connecting with peers who are also training in design, or even teachers. So you may have to be a bit more creative or a bit more proactive into seeking different UX groups to try to create a community for yourself, but it's not going to be in the environment already. And the last thing I think I would mention is that, and something that I've noticed for myself, is that when you are self-taught, sometimes you don't know the information you need to get. I remember when I started, I did a design class and everything on Udemy, and I've noticed along the way, I've learned through making mistakes where I was not doing the things that as optimally as I could. And I've learned this by, at some point, seeing other designers work or watching more tutorials. So sometimes if you're really starting from scratch, it's kind of hard to know what information you need to get or research for. Now, when it comes to the UX Bootcamp, I think there are some pros to it. UX Bootcamp, for those who are not familiar with it, is kind of a accelerated, more intensive training. And I think one of the pros to that is that you'll be in an environment with people who are also trying to work in UX, so that's nice to have peers. You have teachers as well, and they can be great connections also for future work. Another thing that is nice is that I know that sometimes there are placements and internships that the school may help you be connected and have that first experience, so that may be very helpful to be able to have access to that. In terms of cons, I think that sometimes it's similar to self-taught, whereas if you don't necessarily have a prior degree that is more extensive, it may take a little bit more time to kind of get more work experience, kind of prove that you can do the work and showcase that. Without other prior relevant experiences or even into another field, it seemed like it may take a little bit more time to get like a junior position into UX. Another thing is that it can be a little bit more expensive if you're looking to transition and it's your second career like me. Sometimes investing into a bootcamp or even a full degree is not necessarily as accessible in terms of price. And now when it comes to the full degree, I think what's really interesting with the full degree is that it's very thorough. So you will have the theory, you'll get to have a lot of practice, different projects. Again, you'll get to work with peers, have placement for internships and connections with the teachers, which is also very nice. And like the bootcamp, which I didn't mention, you will have structure. So that's really nice because you have deadlines and it kind of forces you to go along and continue along that path. Is this what you want? And I think some of the cons is that it can be a bit more expensive, like I've mentioned, similar to the bootcamp, a little bit more time consuming. I know that for me, I had spent already quite a bit of time and money into doing a bachelor's and a master's into another field, so it was not really an option for me at the time to spend a couple of years and a lot of money into earning another degree. So really, I don't think there's like a better way to do it. I think it depends of someone's background and maybe personality. If you are someone who struggles to self-structure and who struggles with procrastination, maybe a self-taught path is not necessarily suitable for you. But let me know in the comments below about your background. I'd love to know, people's different paths to UX. And if you have any questions about getting started in UX and training in UX, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments below. And yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.